Here is a fact that most people, especially those over 60, get completely wrong. If you are dealing with pattern hair loss, those follicles on your scalp are not dead. Research suggests they are actually still alive, just dormant, like seeds waiting for the right environment to grow. But they're being held hostage by a silent, invisible barrier: accumulated scar tissue and calcification on your scalp. You've likely tried rosemary oil, expensive serums, or even DHT blockers. But here's the problem: none of them can penetrate that physical wall. It's like trying to water a plant through a concrete slab. Nobody tells you that the remedy isn't the problem. The barrier is. If you don't clear that path first, you're just wasting your time and money. Imagine being able to finally wake those follicles up and support your natural hair density again. But there is a specific order to doing this, an exact protocol, that most people get backward, and doing it wrong could actually cause more irritation than growth. Today, I'm ranking the top methods to help you break down that barrier and support your hair health from the root up. And the number one solution: it's something you can start using right from home, but only if you use it in the right sequence. If you are over 60 and noticing that your hair is thinning or receding, it's easy to assume this is just an inevitable part of aging. You might be told it's purely genetic, or that you simply need to block DHT to stop the shedding. But I want you to consider that your hair loss might actually be a physical symptom of what is happening deeper inside your metabolic system. By the end of this video, you will understand why treating the surface, or just blocking a single hormone, often leads to frustration. The truth is, many common hair loss solutions fail because they don't address the soil of your scalp. Most of us focus on the fish, but we ignore the water in the tank. If your scalp environment is inflamed or constricted, no amount of topical oil or serum is going to reach the follicles that need it most. Here is what is likely happening inside your body. As we age, metabolic shifts like insulin resistance can quietly trigger chronic, low-grade inflammation. This doesn't just affect your blood sugar, it affects the tiny microvessels feeding your hair. Over time, this leads to a process of calcification and scar tissue formation right beneath the surface of your skin. These follicles aren't dead. They are essentially being starved of oxygen and nutrients, locked behind a wall of tissue that prevents growth. Treating the symptoms without addressing this underlying environment is like trying to grow a garden on a concrete slab. Today, I'm going to share a ranking of methods to support your scalp health, move beyond the surface-level misconceptions, and help you understand how to support those follicles from the root up. Let's start at the bottom of our list with something you've probably heard of 1,000 times: onion juice. Now, if you spend any time in the natural hair growth corner of the internet, you've likely seen the bold claims. Some suggest that applying raw onion juice to your scalp can work miracles for pattern hair loss. And it's not hard to see why this is a popular topic. It's cheap, it's accessible, and it's right there in your kitchen. Here is the truth. Onions are incredibly rich in quercetin, a powerful antioxidant that helps modulate inflammation. Because inflammation is a core driver of the scar tissue formation we talked about earlier, it's easy to understand why someone might think this is the magic bullet for a balding scalp. But here's the problem, and why I've ranked this as our starting point. Evidence for onion juice specifically for pattern hair loss is actually quite limited. Most of the impressive study results you'll see online were conducted on people with autoimmune hair loss, specifically alopecia areata, not the standard receding hairline or thinning top that most of us are dealing with. Furthermore, applying raw, pungent onion juice to your scalp is, frankly, not a sustainable daily habit for most people. It can be irritating, the smell is intense, and if you have sensitive skin, it might actually worsen the inflammation you're trying to soothe. So while it's not useless, it's a high-effort, low-reliability option for the type of hair loss we're focusing on today. If you want to use it, think of it more as a supplemental anti-inflammatory, not a primary solution. Score. Toisandis. It's a classic home remedy that sounds great in theory, but when it comes to breaking down calcified scar tissue on your scalp, we have much more effective and much less aromatic tools in our kit. Now we're getting somewhere. But if onion juice isn't enough to move the needle, what is? The next method on our list is one that many people use, but they're often using it at the wrong frequency, which might be why they aren't seeing the results they expect. Are you ready to move up? Moving up our list, let's talk about pumpkin seed oil. You'll often see this recommended in supplement aisles, and for good reason. It's packed with nutrients that may support prostate health and, by extension, help manage some of the hormonal shifts we associate with pattern hair loss. Many people turn to this as a more internal approach, hoping that by flooding their system with these specific fatty acids, they can stop the thinning process from the inside out. And honestly, it's not a bad idea. Pumpkin seed oil contains phytosterols and specific antioxidants that have been associated with a potential reduction in the conversion of testosterone into DHT in some clinical observations. Because of this, it's a much more credible tool than the onion juice we discussed earlier. But here's the problem, and why I've ranked this in the middle of our list. It is not a direct barrier breaker. Remember, if your scalp is already compromised by calcification and scar tissue, simply swallowing a capsule isn't going to magically dissolve that wall and stimulate dormant stem cells. It's a great piece of the puzzle for metabolic support, but on its own, it's often not enough to restart growth in a follicle that has been asleep for years. Also, consistency is a major hurdle here. In one randomized controlled trial, participants took 400 milligrams daily for several months to see a measurable increase in hair density. This isn't a take-it-when-you-remember kind of supplement. It requires a long-term commitment to see any change at all. Score: 510. It's a solid, evidence-backed supplement for hormonal balance, but it lacks the mechanical power to clear the scalp environment. Now we're getting somewhere. We've covered the topical home remedies and the internal hormonal support. But what if I told you there's an oil that has been shown in head-to-head trials to nearly match the results of conventional pharmacological treatments, but without the common side effects? The next item on our list is controversial to some, but fascinating to researchers. Are you ready to see why? Moving up our list, let's talk about rosemary oil. If you've spent any time researching natural approaches to hair loss, you've likely come across this one. It is perhaps one of the most frequently discussed topical remedies in the hair health community, and for a good reason. It's accessible, affordable, and has a pleasant, herbal scent that is far more tolerable than onion juice. But what does the evidence actually say? What makes rosemary oil particularly interesting to researchers is its potential impact on scalp circulation. Some studies have suggested that applying rosemary oil topically may help support the health of the scalp environment, potentially by improving local blood flow. Because we know that one of the primary hidden problems in pattern hair loss is the constriction of blood supply to the hair follicles due to inflammation and calcification, it's easy to see why this is a step up from the remedies we've discussed so far. In one head-to-head observation, researchers compared the effectiveness of rosemary oil to a conventional pharmacological hair loss treatment over several months. Interestingly, both groups showed a similar increase in hair density, without the common side effects often reported with the drug treatment. However, here is the catch. Rosemary oil is not a miracle that works on its own. If your scalp is covered in a dense layer of scar tissue, simply dabbing oil on the surface isn't enough to reach the dormant follicles beneath. You're essentially trying to nourish a plant that is trapped under a concrete slab. To get the most out of rosemary oil, it needs to be part of a targeted routine that actively addresses that physical barrier. It is an excellent, evidence-supported tool for maintenance and local support, but it's most effective when it's paired with a method that creates a pathway for the oil to actually reach the follicle. Score: 710. It is a powerful, science-backed topical that is a staple for a reason, but it works best when the scalp environment is properly prepared to receive it. Now, we are getting to the really fascinating part of our list. We've covered the internal hormonal support and the effective herbal topicals. But what if I told you there is a mechanical method that can actually break down that wall of scar tissue we talked about earlier? The next item on our list is, by far, the most critical step if you are serious about seeing results. Are you ready to see why this is the missing link for so many? Now, we are getting to the really fascinating part of our list. We've covered the internal hormonal support and the effective herbal topicals. But what if I told you there is a mechanical method that can actually break down that wall of scar tissue we talked about earlier? The next item on our list is microneedling. If you've been following the research in dermatology over the last few years, you've likely seen this method pop up. It involves using a device with tiny, sterile needles to create micro-injuries on the surface of the scalp. Now, I know the idea of needles sounds intense, but let's be clear about what's actually happening here. When you create these controlled, microscopic channels, you are triggering a natural healing response. Your body rushes to the area, breaking down the old fibrotic collagen, the scar tissue, and replacing it with healthy, flexible tissue. Essentially, you are resetting the environment of your scalp. It's not just about stimulating blood flow, it's about physically clearing the barrier that has kept your follicles dormant for years. This is critical because, as we discussed, if your scalp has become calcified and stiff, no amount of nutrient-rich oil or serum can penetrate that layer to reach the follicle root. Microneedling opens the door, allowing those supportive nutrients to actually do their job. However, you have to be careful. More is not better here. This isn't something you should be doing every single day. Using a device between 0 millimeters and 5 millimeters, once every 2 to 4 weeks, is the standard approach I've seen in most research-informed protocols. Score 910. It is the most effective way I know of to physically clear the scalp environment. Now, we've cleared the path. But what do you put on the scalp once that door is open? The number one option on our list is a topical that works in a completely different way than the oils we've discussed, and it's something you likely already have in your cabinet for sleep. Are you ready to see why this is the missing link? Now, before you rush into this protocol, we need to address the mistakes that can turn this from a healing routine into a source of frustration. First and foremost, more is not better. When it comes to microneedling, there is a temptation to do it every few days because you want faster results. Please do not do this. Your scalp needs significant time to repair the micro-injuries and build that new, healthy tissue. Doing it too often keeps your scalp in a state of chronic inflammation, which can actually worsen thinning. Stick to the 0 millimeters to 5 millimeters depth and keep your sessions at least 2 to 4 weeks apart. Second, don't rush to apply your topical remedy immediately after you finish rolling. If you've just created tiny channels in your scalp, applying highly active substances right away can lead to severe irritation or an unwanted inflammatory response. Give your skin 24 to 48 hours to settle. Patience here is part of the protocol. Third, stop looking for a shortcut in the form of processed or flavored supplements. If you are taking pumpkin seed oil or other extracts, ensure they are high-quality, pure forms. The flavored or blended versions often contain additives and inflammatory seed oils that counteract the very benefits you're trying to achieve. Most importantly, do not, under any circumstances, stop any medication prescribed by your doctor in favor of these natural steps. These are tools to support your environment, not replacements for medical care. And finally, keep an eye out for red flags. If you experience severe scalp pain, unusual oozing, persistent redness, signs of infection, or notice a sudden, rapid increase in shedding, stop everything and see a dermatologist immediately. This is not the time to tough it out. Listen to your body. Now, how do you actually implement this? You cannot do this for 3 days and expect permanent results. This is about building a sustainable, daily habit. Start with the foundation. If your health professional agrees, make the number one option the cornerstone of your daily routine. Consistency is what allows your body to actually adapt and respond. If you want to accelerate your progress, you can add the second or third options into your afternoon or evening routine. But don't feel like you need to use everything at once. Pick 1 or 2 directions and stay consistent with them for at least 30 days. During this time, keep a simple symptom journal. Note how you feel on day 1 and track any subtle changes you notice as you progress. This isn't about looking for an overnight transformation. It's about observing how your body responds to consistent, targeted support over the course of a month. Above all, remember that these tools are meant to support your body's natural processes, not to replace medical care. If you have any chronic health conditions, are currently taking medication, or are undergoing treatment, you must talk to your doctor before making these changes. They know your medical history and can ensure that these adjustments are safe and appropriate for you specifically. Consistency and communication with your healthcare provider are the 2 most important factors in your long-term success. If you've been feeling frustrated by your health, I want you to remember this. You are not broken. You don't need a miracle. You simply need to adjust your environment, your nutrition, and your daily routine to give your body the support it truly requires. Your health is not a result of luck. It's a result of the consistent, targeted actions you take every single day. I'm inviting you to join me in a 30-day challenge. Starting today, I want you to pick 1 foundational habit from this video and commit to it for the next month. Don't worry about being perfect. Just be consistent. Keep a simple symptom journal where you track how you feel on day 1 and then look back at your notes on day 30. You might be surprised to see how much your body can respond when you finally give it the right tools. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with someone you know who might benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. Let me know which habit you're planning to start. Your energy, your mobility, and your independence matter more than anything. Let's support your health, 1 consistent habit at a time. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always talk to your doctor before changing your diet, supplements, medication, or health routine.